Welcome back to the Bullpen on the Horn Takes podcast. Joining me from the Bullpen, as always, Marc Pena from Occupy Left Field, Zach Sim from OrangeBloods.com. How you doing tonight, gents?
Doing
fantastic, Sean. Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Getting over this little sickness, and I should be good to go. I feel a ton better, man. I thought I was gonna die probably about Monday or Tuesday, but anyways, you know, man, you get older and stuff just hits you harder, and that's just the way it goes. You just got to roll with it. Make sure you guys follow us on X for all the latest on Texas baseball. 3 unique accounts, I think, but all pretty solid accounts. Make sure you follow us. Information down there at the bottom of the screen. Subscribe and get notified to the YouTube channel at Horn Takes so you don't miss any of our content. Check out the Horn Takes store at horntakesstore.myshopify.com. Hats, koozies, proceeds going back to the Texas One Fund, and I'm working on a deal right now to get something special for you guys. So there'll be some new stuff up there pretty soon. Marc has obviously got the left field stuff on Last Stand hats. That stuff's flying out of the door like hotcakes. Make sure you check that out before that stuff is gone. Again, all those proceeds going back to the Texas One Fund. If you choose seeds, and you should choose Chinook seeds if you're going to choose seeds because they're the best. Use promo code HORNTAKES at ChinookSeedery.com. Get 10% off your order there at ChinookSeedery.com. All right. That's like the hardest part for me is all of that stuff that we got to get out of the way. The admin work, right? Big series, on the road, Kentucky Wildcats. Not like we talked about it. We talked about those Wildcats having some players, but not really being a team that we didn't think when we all picked 2-1. We thought Texas would find a way to lose a game, and they did. Talk to us, man. Zach, get us started. Tell us your thoughts on the series out in Lexington.
Yeah, I thought the series kind of played out the way people thought it might, just from the stylistic play, right? Like Kentucky and Texas both like to take a lot of pitches. The stat that really interested me was that no SEC team up until the Texas game on Sunday had gone longer than 5 innings. No starting pitcher, I mean, which is crazy if you think about it. That means you're getting into a bullpen, in the first, half of the game. And that says something about just the way you play, the way you grind it out. And then, from a Texas standpoint, we know that they like to take a lot of pitches. We know that they like to get those timely hits. But it was the defense that really impressed me the most. And I know that people have complaints here and there, but, they only gave up 2 errors all weekend. They only gave up 2 stolen bases to the team that leads the SEC in stolen bases. And so it was kind of like they did all the right things or the little things right throughout the weekend and just added up, right? It was just that moment here, that moment there. And then it was when they didn't do the little things, that's what cost them the game on Saturday. Dylan Volantis gives up his first earned run in SEC play. It was going to happen at some point. It's just unfortunate it happened at that moment in time, right? I mean, that sent the game into extra innings. So, overall, I thought it was a good series, indicative of the SEC, right? Like it's a grind it out, do whatever it takes. Both teams have players, but both teams are going to make plays, and it's, ball don't lie. Sometimes, like Kimball Schuessler, he got hit on the arm. They send him back to the home plate. What does he do? He adjusts his bat a little bit, sends it to the right, gets a RBI double. I mean, that again, ball don't lie. So
yeah. It was a weird series overall. I agree with a lot of what Zach said, but man, it just really was grinded out, and I think it's everything that I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be ugly, difficult. The weather was definitely a factor as well, especially on Friday. Hearing from some of the fans that traveled there said it was really, really cold at the game on Friday. But into the weekend, the Horns did what they needed to do. It wasn't pretty all the time, right? We went some very long stretches without being able to produce runs. I think yesterday, going into the top of the third, we were at like 9 2/3 innings offensively without scoring a run.
Yeah.
So, there was some stagnant periods there, but at the end of the day on Sunday, you're leaving town with another series win. And that's really all that matters. I think my biggest takeaway from the weekend was the surprising names that you saw pitching wise, right? Guys that we haven't seen much on the weekend step up and have some really good performances, right? Kind of gives you a lot of hope for some of those guys moving into the back half of SEC play. Moffitt, Saunier, guys like that just coming out and pitching really well. So again, we got the job done. It wasn't pretty, but you come home with 2 wins, and you're going to be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it multiple times on this show. Get a win on the road, and you got to be happy with that. I thought what was pretty interesting about it was I feel like this was the first SEC series that Texas really kind of had to win ugly. It just, that Kentucky team is really scrappy. I'm definitely not a fan of their lean out over the plate and get hit, sort of peewee little league. This is a funny story. While I was watching that game, it made me think of this coach when my son was, I don't know, he was 9 or 10, and this coach would tell players to stand there and get hit by the batter. Don't get out of the way. And he would like walk them up there and stick them right on top of the plate. This was little league where, the coaches could still maneuver the players around. And that's what I felt like. That one kid literally had his elbow out over the plate, like right in the middle of the plate every time he went up to bat. And he should have been called twice, honestly, for sticking his elbow right into the ball. But it is what it is. And we'll talk about the official. We don't do that much. We haven't much on this show talked about the umpires, but I thought they were just pretty bad. For like I thought the guy at the end of Sunday just wanted to go home. Like he was tired from being there all day Saturday. He was tired of being there behind the plate on Sunday. He just started calling some really just not striky pitches, really striky pitches. So, but that was kind of my takeaway. Scrappy Kentucky team. I now understand why all of the SEC hates Kentucky baseball, because they do, man. They're just really like unconventional, and I mean they just run at weird times and they do weird stuff at weird times. I mean, the hell, a kid scored from first base on an overthrow on a bunt. Like you don't see that very often, and it was just like a total effort play. So they are that kind of scrappy bunt. And I was talking to Zach before you jumped on, Mark. That was a really close series. Like it could have easily been a sweep, but it also could have been a series loss for Texas. I mean, one thing doesn't go their way on Sunday, and you're looking at a really disappointing, sort of weekend of guys, just going, what the hell happened? Because you mentioned it, Mark, they did leave a lot at the plate. Like we just weren't very good at the plate. I thought the pitching was really good overall. Zach, you mentioned Dylan Valanis giving up a home run. I go back to that umpire thing, man. I really felt like the pitch before that was a strike. I didn't even think there should have been a 3-2 pitch. And then I'll ask you guys. This is me being like nitpicky and stuff. I didn't really like the 3-2 call. I didn't like the fastball call because I think Dylan Valanis locates his off-speed stuff really well, and we've talked about it before. Like he's still working on that control on the fastball. I would have. And that kid was teed up, obviously, for a fastball. And now Max Wiener has no way of knowing that's going to be the case necessarily. And I'm sure, he's smarter than me. I'm not questioning Max Wiener, but I don't know, man. I would have rather walked him on a slider that he laid off of than threw a fastball that the kid was looking for that he got lucky and popped over the fence. But what are y'all's thoughts on that?
I just thought it was an interesting call in general, because typically, or not typically, but Valance's best out pitch is his breaking ball, right? He's got a really sharp break on it. He can mix up the speed a little bit on slow you up, slow you down, or speed you up, slow you down. So I thought it was interesting they went to fastball. But again, that's kind of Max Wiener's style. Like he's gonna play mental games with batters. One of the things you heard throughout the entire fall was the batters are like, I really hate pitching or hitting against him because you never know what he's calling. Like if you expect a 2-1 fastball, he's calling a changeup away from you, and like you're just left in the desert guessing. So there's times where I'm like, this is prototypically what you would see, like the best pitch, but at the same time, there's tape on all these guys, right? They know their tendencies. And so if the tendency is on a 3-2 pitch, always go to the breaking ball, which is what he feels most comfortable throwing, you throw a strike, right? You go away from the tendencies because they're looking at that throughout the entire game. So it's one of those things that just kind of comes back to bite you. It's like the Mendoza play where he rolled over on his shoulder. Saul Stengel was like, look, I literally the pitch before just moved him over to his left because I felt like Tyler Bell had such pull tendency.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, if I didn't touch him, that's the easiest 4-6-3 double play you're going to see. It's hit right to the guy. So it's those little things, right? It's just sometimes they go your way and sometimes they don't. I mean, it's baseball. So some of that stuff you can overthink, but at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
You got any
I
thoughts,
agree
Mark?
with you,
Am I
Sean.
crazy?
Going back to what you said earlier, I do agree with you. I thought the pitch before the home run was a pretty damn good pitch, and I was expecting that to be called strike 3. So, obviously not gonna overanalyze or try and get into Dylan's head, but I'm feeling like maybe, after that call, he's just trying to throw a strike, not put a guy on, via the walk in the bottom of the 9th inning and just let one go down the middle. But, he's going to learn from that. And he had a spectacular run of not giving up anything in SEC play. So you're not going to hear me criticizing him at all. I think the inning before that, coming in with 2 guys on, nobody out, and being able to get out of that jam was pretty spectacular. So all in all, he's going to learn from that. He's going to get better from it. And, again, end of the day, we were able to do enough to come home with 2 wins.
Yeah, definitely. Like if Dylan Valanis doesn't come in that inning before, we're probably not even talking about the 3-2 pitch, the 3-1 pitch, any of that stuff. So yeah. And the hitter's going to win sometimes. We talk about that on the show all the time as well. As good as you can. I mean, he threw a strike. It's just that kid was ready for it and put a good swing on it. Sometimes that's going to happen. Real quick, let's talk. We get a question from Kevin Bing. On a serious note, what is the actual rule about the batter leaning over the plate at the beginning of the pitch? I don't think there is a rule, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't think there's a rule about as long as your feet are in the box, you can lean out over the plate as much as you want. Now, when the ball is in flight, if you move your body in any way towards the pitch to try to get hit, you're out, I believe.
Well,
and it used to be, and maybe it's different today, but it used to be you had to, even if you were in the box, you had to attempt to get out of the way. You couldn't just stand there and get hit by the pitch. I've seen that before in the college game.
You can just stand there.
Has it changed? Because I remember a few years ago, they went on and on about this in one game I was watching, that you had to make an attempt to get out of the way of the ball, which I thought was absurd. Because
you can
batter's box,
you can stand there and take a ball, as long as it's not like if you're leaning over the plate and you don't make an attempt to get out of it, then yeah, they're going to call a strike on you. Or if it's strike 2, they're going to call strike 3 and you're out. But if you're in the batter's box and you're not leaning over the plate, you can stand there. You don't have to move because that means they're missing the zone. So, but yeah, before the pitch, I mean, you can literally. I mean, hell, back when it was Ryan Reynolds and that gang leading the Texas team, they would practice getting hit. They practiced throwing at each other on the infield because Ryan Reynolds said, no, we're not doing this. Like, you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. Like, you're going to take it like a man. And anyone that wasn't willing to do it, I tell you what, he suffered by his friends. I mean, you would see some of those guys after practice and they'd just be black and blue from where they were just took pitches because they were just throwing at each other.
We heard Olivia talk about that with the Georgia guys. They practice getting hit as well, and clearly that Kentucky team practices getting hit. They get hit. I mean, we hit a lot of batters. I feel like obviously I haven't watched every team. I feel like this pitching staff, as good as they are, they do peg some batters at a pretty high rate, and that was just like the perfect wrong combination. A Kentucky team that's looking to get hit, and then a Texas team that can have a tendency to sometimes get a little wild with one and hit somebody. So pretty interesting just how all that unfolded. But yeah, I think the Schuessler deal really upset a lot of people. I don't know how the umpire didn't hear it. I heard it on like the actual play. You heard clearly 2 like smacks, skin and glove. And then so, but when they showed the replay, you absolutely couldn't tell it hit him. I don't think. What do you guys? I mean, I was waiting for like some skin to move or something. Like nothing moved.
It didn't hit. I mean, it didn't hit him full on. It just grazed by his arm. But you could, like, he could see afterwards. You could see the red mark where the seam hit him. And that's why he went over to show the umpire. He's like, "Look, there's the seam mark."
Yeah,
but I mean,
crazy.
At the end of the day, like, I would rather take the RBI double that he got out of it. So
sure,
it's again, ball don't lie.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it was close series, scrappy bunch. That we talked about the bats a little bit. 235 on the series. However, when they hit the ball, they slugged pretty well. 10 doubles, 2 home runs. Pretty good extra base hit percentage for the team. I just made that up. I don't even know if that's a thing. Most of their hits were extra base hits. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those deals where they're just kind of struggling a little bit. Saturday, we saw a huge shift in the lineup, like guys going down, guys coming up. Just kind of a. I want to hear your thoughts on that one, Zach. Like, not from like maybe like, what did Schloss give you any kind of insight into what that was all about in y'all's discussion this morning?
About which part?
Saturday's lineup, and I'm not questioning it at all, but it was like a huge change from Friday and Sunday in turn. Like Flores went down to like the 7 hole or the 6 hole or something like that.
Bottom. Yeah, I mean, more so is trying to balance out the lineup a little bit. You've got so many right-handed hitters, and so now you start, because you can't have a balanced lineup with right-left or left-right, you start having to match up strengths. Like, is this guy a pull side hitter versus this guy more of an opposite field hitter? Is this guy more of a, power guy, send it to the gap, or is this guy, line to line? And so what you want to try to do is you want to try to match them up so that you don't have a guy that's constantly pull side, because you're going to be hitting right into where the guy's running, right? So you want to hit behind the hitter, or behind the runner, I mean. So, it's starting to work those matchups and just try to find a more symbiotic rhythm to the lineup, because right now, or before that game, it was very much top heavy, and then you try to turn it over and you essentially waste an inning at sometimes, right? Yeah. And so by putting a guy like Kimball down towards the bottom, or a Casey Borba, or even a Tommy Farmer, you got a guy that can get on whether it's a hit or a walk. And so then you can start trying to really turn that over. And I think that's what you saw on Sunday. Like, if you look at the amount of the turnover, like how many times did Mendoza lead off an inning? I think he led off 3, if not 4 innings. I mean, he just kept getting up there because they were able to kind of keep the gears going and grinding. And so I think, that was the majority of it. So.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, Sean, we mentioned this a little bit last week, right? I mentioned that in the absence of Blue, right, you really need one of the guys, to step up. You need a Winfield or a Rodriguez or a Stewart to get going, at the plate. And I was taking a look at the box scores earlier this morning and didn't really notice it over the weekend. But when you start to look at it, I saw that, over the course of the weekend, over 3 full games, because we played 15 innings on Saturday, not a single hit from the left field or DH spot. 0 for all weekend at the plate. And, again, you kind of feel fortunate to get through that and come out of Lexington with a series win. I think if you have that happen to you in Fayetteville or in Norman, right, you're probably talking about a different result in a series loss at that point. So, just one of those things. We've been positive overall, and we should be positive. We're number 1 in the country now, but you start looking at some of these things that I think you got to fix and you got to shore up, and we got to get better at down the stretch if we want to keep, riding this momentum and winning series. So you really hope that you are going to see one of those guys this week, get more opportunities and have a little bit more success at the plate.
Yeah, I think a lot of the bats need to get a little more consistent, obviously, for us to continue to have success. I don't think we're going to be able to go bat 215 a lot the rest of the year and be able to walk out with 2 wins probably. Even though the pitching has been really, really good. And that's what kept us in it. I feel like this weekend was just a lot of guys stepping up that came in on the bump. And like you mentioned, Mark, a lot of guys that we haven't seen in a while had to come in and do a lot of work this weekend. So kudos to those guys. We'll talk about that a little later. You mentioned the number one ranking. We haven't even talked about that. I think pretty unanimously, there's probably a poll or two that, like we've mentioned before, there's 50,000 of these baseball polls now. But I think the major ones, perfect game, D1 baseball, probably the coaches poll. Texas is pretty much unanimous number one. I know we talked about it a little bit over the weekend. Zach, you hate it. Mark, you're excited about it. I'm excited about it. They earned it. I saw a post of yours this morning, Mark, that I felt like was perfectly encapsulated how I feel about it. It kind of doesn't matter, but they deserve it. So give them that number one. Let them roll with that for a while, and hopefully they can hang on to it for a while. I'm kind of like Zach, though, too, where I don't know if you want that target on your back. We see that number one seed doesn't do so well at the College World Series if they make it. And so it's been pretty rough run for number one overall seeds at the College World Series for the last 10 or 15 years, right? Or maybe 20 years. Only two of them have won it.
1999 Miami, and then last year Tennessee. Yeah.
So, that crap doesn't matter. But hey, we're in a superstitious game, guys. So we don't necessarily want to be number one headed into the College World Series. But kudos to the guys, man. They've scrapped and clawed. We talked at the very first show I think we did together. We talked about where they were ranked and where we thought they should have been ranked. And they were kind of anywhere from 8, I believe, 7 or 8 in perfect game, and then down to 18 in some of the other polls. And we all kind of thought that, right there in the middle was about right. And then they've just come out, and we knew they'd have opportunities to prove they were better than that. And they sure have so far to this point. So kudos to those guys. For that, let's talk about that pitching real quick. 3.55 ERA, 35 Ks. Really, I was kind of going through and looking at the box score and for all 3 games as well. Not a lot of runs scored by Kentucky. They had 3 good swings on 3 mistakes by the pitching staff. Just pitches that weren't the best pitches, and they made them pay. So kudos to Kentucky for that. The bullpen only allows 3 runs in 16 innings pitched, and only 2 of those were earned runs. So and you look at it, wasn't the same guys that we saw last weekend where everybody's talking about Texas only using 5 guys. We use some guys that we haven't seen in a while. So for those guys to come in and give the length they gave and give the performance they gave, outstanding work out of that bullpen.
Yeah, for sure, Sean. And I think I want to go back to something you were talking about before about the number one ranking. Again, it's too early in the season and not going to put a lot of stock in that. But I think what it does, right, is it proves and it shows that we're ahead of where we all expected to be right now. And I think if you look at the big picture, right, last week we talked about resetting expectations and wanting to be a national seed from a postseason perspective, right? If you're number one mid-April, you're in a very good spot to achieve that. And, it kind of affords you some luxury later down the schedule where if you do slip up and have a bad weekend, right, you're still likely going to see yourself in that top 8. And Zach, wanted to ask you, I think the last time we were ranked number one, if I'm remembering correctly, was 22. Is that correct?
Preseason number 1, 2022, coming off the 2021 third place finish. Yep.
Is Dre the only current player that was on that team in 22 that's active right now?
Yeah, that's active. Yeah, and then Chase Loomis is, obviously helping out in the bullpen from a coaching standpoint. But yeah, Dre is the only active player that was part of that 2022 squad.
Yeah, and going back to that, I think that's just cool for the guys, Sean, to just, be able to be at the University of Texas and be ranked number 1 is pretty cool. But going back to your question about pitching, man, I was super impressed yesterday specifically with Sonia. I thought he was just fantastic. I was kind of wondering earlier in the season why he wasn't getting, the opportunities that I think I expected him to get. I expected him coming into the season to be used a little bit more than what we've seen, but damn, he looked good and he looked confident on the mound yesterday. I think Moffitt also looked really good and comfortable coming in on Saturday. Burns, extended time on Saturday as well. So again, it just sets you up for later in the season, right? You knew we had those reliable arms on the weekend, but at some point it's not going to work out perfectly in terms of guys being available, right? We got through another weekend where our starting pitching seems to always make it about 5 or 6 innings, which is big, right? We haven't had that game yet where a guy gets bounced in the second or third inning and then you're kind of scrambling to find arms the rest of the weekend. But I think it proved in Lexington that we do have other arms in the bullpen that are also reliable and are, weekend ready in the SEC. So shout out to those guys. It was really cool to see them get the opportunity and to step up and get the job done. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. That there was people talking about that throughout the week leading up and even the week before, saying, Texas has only used 5 guys. Texas has only used 4 guys. Like, do they even have enough in the bullpen to make a serious run? Because at some point, to your point, like, the starter is only going to go 2 innings. He's only going to go 3 innings. The average length of a start in the SEC last year was 4.1 innings. So, I mean, that tells you something. You have to have a bullpen. And one of the things I talked to Schlossnagle about this morning was, coming into the season, by far, pitching was the biggest question. Like, who's going to pitch? I've got no starters on this team, essentially, other than Grubbs, who didn't pitch in the fall. The job they've done to not just get the starters ready, to turn guys from relievers into starters, and then to be able to fit the pieces of the puzzle together is unbelievable. And some of it's confidence, to your point, like Saunier, like, the guy's had stuff. Like, he made starts at Ole Miss. He made appearances. Same thing with Aiden Moffitt, but like, they couldn't locate. But Max Wiener's refined their approach a little bit, worked on their mechanics, and he has them believing in what they're doing in the bullpen. And Schlossnagle said before the Kentucky series, he goes, I wanted to see Moffitt on Tuesday night. I wanted to see Saunier on Tuesday night. Like, they've been showing me a lot in the bullpens. And everyone forgets that Schlossnagle, even though he runs the offense now, like, he's historically, like, he's the pitching coach, right? Like, he gave that up purposely back in the day. And so he's like, look, they earned the right to go prove it, and they did. And that's going to be something else to watch. I mean, that's having those 3 guys, and then having Burns, who started at Arizona State before he went down with injury, being able to extend him out is going to be something really, really interesting, because now you technically have a guy that could be that 4th starter. I mean, Dylan Valantis could be a 4th starter. You could have Burns as a 4th starter. So now you have got 5 guys that can give you length. That's going to matter come postseason. You're going to get into those, you got to go back through the elimination side of the bracket, which sucks, right? But you got to have the 4th guy or 5th guy.
Yeah, it's a good point. At the beginning, we did talk about the pitching and, just who is going to pitch. And then we started finding some guys that could come in and make some stuff work. Now we're starting to build some of that depth where you can really look at this team and look at the pitching staff and say, they're not just tough Friday. They're not just tough Saturday. Now they can be tough on Sundays, and they can do it with a little adversity. I mean, they pitched a lot of guys on Saturday. They went for that. You've talked about it a million times, Zach. If they can try to go win the game, they're going to pitch some guys to go win the game. We saw that with Valantis coming back on Saturday. Didn't quite work out. We ended up having to pitch a whole lot of guys. Couldn't get any runs across. And so once Ruger Riojas ran out of gas on Sunday, and thank God it was after 6 2/3 innings and not, a 3 inning or a 4 inning type deal. He really gave him some strong. He started to look like he was maybe tiring out about the 5th, but he got some outs, got into the 6th, got some outs. And so that was huge. And then, like you guys have both mentioned, to have those guys come out and just step up. I thought it was cool to see Moffitt. He's pitched 2 1/3 innings, had 5 Ks this week. So big week for Moffitt coming out of the bullpen. Hopefully that's something that can continue, because, man, we talked about it at the beginning of the season. His stuff is just electric if he can contain it and get it over the plate. And, man, it's tough to hit. I mean, that fastball explodes on people. It's only registering 93, 94, but it looks so much faster than that to me. You put his 93 against somebody.
I saw multiple 99s on the TrackMan in the fall.
Wow.
Yeah, no doubt he has an arm.
The problem is for him is you just don't know where it's going. I mean,
right.
I've told multiple people this. I would not want to ever be a batter in the box against Moffitt. He's the one guy that I would not want to sit in against. Everyone else can throw hard, breaking balls, whatever. But Moffitt, if you watch his stuff, when it comes out of his hand, because he kind of has that 3/4 arm whip,
Mhm.
and you don't know if it's going to go glove side or arm side. And it might be one or the other each time. And it's scary to watch that from right behind the plate.
Well, Kentucky didn't care. Kentucky was ready to eat it, man. Any chance they could have, they'd have ate it. So Texas goes on the road, gets a tough, gritty, grind it out type of series when not a lot of stuff, went great for them offensively. Still managed to get it done. Had some guys step up on the pitching side of the house. So that's always good stuff. I believe, and I think you said this, Zach, Texas is the only SEC team through 5 weeks of SEC play that has not dropped a series. Is that accurate? So that's,
yep.
I don't think any of us expected that. I don't think many Texas fans expected Texas to kind of be standing at the top of the hill in the SEC at this point. I think we all looked at them and said, man, they've got some potential. This could be a team that can make some noise. But as you said earlier, Mark, certainly have blown past all of our sort of wildest expectations for this team.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, I was just gonna agree with that, and I think when you extend it out more, right? I didn't have enough time this morning to look into it a little bit more, but as I was looking at the SEC teams and just confirming that Texas is the only one with a perfect weekend record, I could only find 2 other teams in the country right now, Clemson and UCLA, who haven't lost a weekend series yet. So everybody else in the top 10 is all SEC. They've all dropped at least one, and I think most of the top 25 has as well. So that's very, very impressive at this point in the season.
Yeah, still obviously a long way to go. We're halfway there. It'll be interesting to see how the last half of this SEC season tends to play out. I mean, you're seeing some guy. I mean, I don't want to speak too highly of them, but those Aggies kind of got hot here in the last week or so. They're starting to look like that preseason #1 team, at least offensively. I mean, I don't know. They've probably scored 150 runs in the last week. It seems like. So point being, like, some teams are starting to change. We saw the Auburn team we're going to talk about here in a few minutes sweep LSU this weekend. So a lot of
swept LSU this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they did a great job. Got the sweep against. I mean, LSU was ranked 3rd, I think, right, this weekend.
That was crazy. They gave up 8 runs over the entire weekend against LSU, which is ridiculous, man. I'm wondering when the last time that was that something like that's happened to LSU, when they've only scored 8 runs in 27 innings. That's pretty nutty.
Sure. Well, and I think they put a graphic up. I was watching the game on Sunday, and I think they put a graphic up. And Kevin, our guy, in a minute, he can probably help us out with this. But I think they said since 1989 they haven't swept LSU. So big weekend on the Plains for the Auburn Tigers, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do that, let's talk about the 3 best for the Kentucky weekend. Zach, take it away. Who's your 3 best and why?
Yeah, I mean, I had Mendoza just for his offense. He just continued. He made those tweaks during the midweek, and you started to see him come back to where he had confidence. He's the guy that just really drives this offense right now, especially without Ballou, that left-handed hitter at the top of the lineup. I don't know where this team would be without Mendoza, to be honest, because he gets on base. He hits it to both sides of the field. He's got a little bit of sneaky power at times. He just makes it happen. And then Max Grubbs, again, when you talk about, I feel like every week you talk about him as just the ultimate utility pitcher. If you need to give him length, it gives you length. If you need him to just come in and get a guy, he gets a guy. He's been everything in that for the Texas bullpen. He just comes in and puts up zeros and gives the Horns a chance to win, especially when their offense is not maybe as strong as you need it to be. And then Ruger, again, this week, he's the only SEC starting pitcher that's gone more than 5 innings against Kentucky. And, Slosango, you can just see it in the face when they say, like, Ruger's our guy on Sunday. He's like, man, I slept just fine.
Yeah.
Like, those guys know that they have a safety blanket in Ruger that just, you really can't beat. I mean, you went from having a TBA where you're like, hey, we might be throwing out a true freshman, to we've got an experienced guy that fills up the zone, super athletic. Talk about high IQ plays that throw to third base, the way he fields off the mound, the pickoff play that he had of the guy going to second, like, just, he's a dude. And so, yeah, those are my 3 that I think just they're the table turners right now.
Yeah. And from my side, Sean, I went with Jalen and Rylan offensively. I think both of them had a pretty solid weekend. Saturday they both hit big home runs to, give us the lead early in that game. But it was a tough weekend offensively, and I did get the impression there that those two guys are likely the guys that other folks look to get cues when the team is struggling. I think they were able to hold it together during that difficult stretch, that I mentioned earlier, almost 10 innings without a run. Rylan was just fantastic catching the whole weekend, man. Goes 15 innings on Saturday, then comes back on Sunday and closes out the weekend. So those were my two guys offensively. And then for a lot of the reasons that Zach just mentioned, Ruger was my pitcher of the weekend. You wake up on Sunday and, after that Saturday game, you realize how vital it is for him to go deep in the game. And if something would have happened where he only gives you 3 or 4 innings and gets an early hook, right, you're struggling with finding enough pitching to get through game 3. So I think he set us up well, got us to the point in the game where we could use guys and had just enough to get us over the finish line. So I think Ruger, again, every weekend we progress into the schedule. He's becoming more and more reliable. And Zach, listen to your conversation with Slosh this morning. You can just really tell that he's very happy and feels very comfortable, almost like he has a little Sunday security blanket with Ruger on the mound. So I think that's a big confidence boost to the team and gives us a really good feeling going into game 3 of a series.
Yeah, I had Mendoza at number 1, 400 on the weekend, 4 RBI, 2 doubles, a couple of really nice plays in the field. I think he knocked down what would have been a base hit and would have had guys on first and third late in the game. He couldn't get the play off, couldn't get the ball out of his glove to start the double play, but really good job knocking that one down. And then I thought the double play on Sunday was a real headsy play. A lot of guys might have just kind of frozen that situation, and he makes the play to first, and then they get the tag out at second. So I thought that was and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure they got a base hit right after that. So it probably would have scored a run if they don't get that double play. I might be off on that, but I'm trying to make it cooler than it was maybe, but I think that's what happened. And then Galvan, 357 on the weekend, 2 RBI, 2 doubles, a home run. He was a big part of that slugging that we talked about earlier in the show. And it's Galvan just keeps doing that, man. He just keeps figuring out ways to get extra base hits and get the offense going. And then Riojas, you guys said it all, pecked off a runner, fielded his position on a really nice bunt, gets it over to third and gets a force out. And I believe that was first and second with no outs. So they get the lead runner at third to get that first out. And then we've mentioned it multiple times. He goes deep enough on Sunday that used bullpen doesn't end up being a factor. And I think going into that Sunday game, that's kind of what we were all thinking is, man, like if we can't get deep with the starter, this is going to get real interesting. And so great job by Rio. He probably could have been higher on the list, honestly, but really good job by Rio. And then I wanted to do an honorable mention this week. Thomas Burns, Grayson Saunier, combined 4 hits, 6 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 5 Ks out of those 2 guys. And those are 2 guys we just haven't seen a whole lot of, in the last few weeks. We haven't seen those guys pitch a lot. So to see those guys come out of the bullpen, do what they did, outstanding work. And again, I think that just keeps adding to that depth and making that group more dangerous and more dangerous. It's going to pay off down the road, hopefully in the tournament. Let's jump over to the Dinger Tracker because it's changed. A-Rod played left field this weekend, guys. So I can now count all of A-Rod's home runs as outfield home runs. Tell me I'm wrong. We now have 22 outfielder home runs.
That's so wrong.
Hey, rules is rules. 28 home runs to go, guys, and we're going to hit that 50. I didn't say that it was 3 guys. I said it was the outfield, right? And technically he is now an outfielder. So congratulations, A-Rod. I appreciate that. He made a pretty good catch out there too. It looked kind of squirrely a couple times. You can tell he hasn't had to get up under a lot of pop flies in the last couple of years, but he did the job. So yeah, man, good job, A-Rod. You got the Dinger Tracker back on track.
You need to talk to Schloss about putting Galvan in left field for a game.
I know. I really do, man. Sloss, can we get Galvan like in cleanup time? Can we get him some play? Well, you never know, Sloss, when we're going to need Galvan to go to the outfield. His brother, and we'll talk about that in a minute, his brother is a left fielder for that UTRGV team. It's in his blood, Sloss. Get him out there.
Hey, you better watch out. You might see Ruger Riojas, El Bigote out in left field pretty soon.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No kidding. All right, man. We've talked a lot. We left our guy Kevin sitting on the line. Let's get him in here and let's talk some Auburn versus Texas. Kevin, man, appreciate it. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all?
We're doing outstanding. Kevin is Plainsman parking lot, which I'm assuming is like a parking lot where you guys stand. Just kind of scrolling through your Twitter, it looks like. Talk to us about that real quick.
Yeah, so it's at AUPPL on Twitter, and it's just kind of our thing. We've been doing it for probably almost close to 15 years. So how our stadium is there is a giant parking deck right next to the stadium, right between the baseball stadium, Plainsman Park, and the football stadium, Jordan Hare. And we just go to the top of the parking deck. We all really have tickets. So we'll go in for giveaways and stuff, or if we want food. But we're really just tailgate up there. And it's just a big family atmosphere where we're up there. We have our own security folks. We have a few rules. We just try to enforce them. You can't back in, can't sit higher than your waist. Put everything in a cup or a koozie. No glass, no grills. If you want to grill, you can grill down there. But that's just kind of our thing. And that's where it kind of started from when I started writing about Auburn baseball for a blog with Jerry Hennon. That was sort of my way because I was driving from Montgomery, Alabama to Auburn because that's where I lived. But I was working in Montgomery. And so I would basically just be coming into town right as the game started. And it was easier for me just to stay outside and watch the game than to go inside and try to fight for a seat. And plus, we could bring our own coolers. We'll tailgate. We have TVs and stuff up there. So it's just kind of our thing. We have fun with it. It's very much enjoyable. Kind of adds to the atmosphere. Auburn added a lot to the stadium this year, so now you can sit on top of the wall. So we've got some folks that are kind of at eye level with us, which is kind of cool this year. But yeah, that's where it comes from. Playing the parking lot.
Well, and that sounds eerily similar to our Occupy Left Field, our man Marc Pena right here.
Absolutely. I love that.
It's really cool to hear all these different unique ways the fans enjoy the games. And I've seen some people. We got tickets in right field, down the right field line at the Dish. And there's a parking garage out there in left field. And you see some guys standing up there now. And they probably have for a while. But they stand up at the top of that parking deck. They cannot see the whole field where I think you guys pretty much can.
We've got a good view of everything, and they actually have been gracious enough. We actually have our own little scoreboard that kind of faces us, so we can still see the count and everything, because where we're at, the wall kind of cuts us off. So we can never see the miles per hour. And we normally lose the line score for the first 4 innings, just of how we're angled. So we've got our own little thing down there where we can actually see the score and check it out. We call it our little scoreboard. But yeah, it's our thing. We love it. Awesome. We just have fun up there.
If you guys ever go to the Auburn game, go check out the Plainsman parking lot and look for Kevin. He won't be hard to find. He's got that big red beard, man. He'll be the big red bearded guy. Check out. Let's talk about this.
Red beard, so.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm the big bald fat guy when I describe myself. So if I'm not wearing a hat, then I'm the big bald fat guy. But anyway, let's talk about this Auburn team. 26-10 on the season, 9-6 in SEC play. They've beat a really good Oregon State team up in Arlington, took a series from Vandy. They did get swept by Georgia, but then they flip it around and sweep LSU, top 5 team at home over the weekend. Talk to us about this team. If we haven't seen them play, what should we be looking for out of this Auburn Tiger team this weekend?
Well, it was actually kind of surprising. I think the LSU series, you felt good for it being at home that we may be able to grab a series, just kind of sneak one out. But being able to sweep is even bigger. And yeah, we haven't done that since 1988. Honestly, on paper, Auburn's a team that you're not gonna see some stats jump out at you. But they managed to find things that click at the right time. We don't have a lot of home run power. We've actually been kind of trending downwards when it comes to home runs of recent. The bullpen and the starting has been just kind of a work in progress. We've really only had kind of one guy that's been steady the entire year as a starter in Samuel Dutton, our Friday night guy. He's a transfer from LSU. And we've just been kind of making things work. And, I think we kind of hit the lowest a little bit after that Georgia series, especially how those games were lost. I mean, you really thought we had a chance in that last game to maybe just steal a win. That's all we really wanted to do, I think, was just steal a win on the road from Georgia. But this past weekend, it really just kind of clicked. We started off with a good rivalry win against Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and the offense came out fired. And so I think, to me, the biggest change from that Georgia series to this LSU series has been a little bit more consistency with our bullpen. Now, though, it gets a little hairy sometimes, but we actually have been able to kind of link together and get some innings together and kind of limit those big innings. Because that's normally kind of been Auburn's crux for a lot of the season, is things can snowball really fast on this team, especially we have some depth on the pitching staff, but we don't have a ton of it. And we've got a lot of new guys all over, not just in the bullpen, not just in the field. Like, we basically have a ton of transfers and freshmen, almost revitalized the entire roster from last year, except for a couple core guys. And so you still got some guys that they're trying to find a place, trying to find some roles. There's some definition a little bit. The field's kind of set right now, but we've got some injuries to Cade Ballou and some other guys that have kind of shifted some things around. But you'll see we'll have a lot of true freshmen that are going to contribute on the mound and in the field. And you've got the whole mindset at the plate is just having good at bats, not being scared, not trying to always hit the ball out of the park, but just trying to link up. And on our side, just try to just breathe the next man up and make those big innings happen. We're not going to do it like Kentucky does. We're trying to cause chaos on the base path. We're trying to get good, solid hits. We're trying to hit the different gaps. And if we get a home run, we get a home run. But it's really just kind of keeping the pressure on by keeping the bats consistent and taking good pitches when you need to.
Yeah, you mentioned a guy I wanted to kind of talk about, so we'll kind of step into that real quick. Y'all's Friday night guy, pretty much a stud. Samuel Dutton, 50 innings pitched, 45 hits scattered over those 50 innings, 2.34 ERA, 13 earned runs, and 58 Ks. So, he's the guy, when I was looking at stats this morning, that really popped out to me from that pitching staff. Is there any other guys that are? I feel like maybe your Sunday guy has done all right, or maybe I'm making that up.
Well, our Sunday
Cade
guy's been
Fisher
really
this Saturday.
TV. Yeah, well, it's a couple different things. We came into the season with two really, we thought would be impact transfers on the mound. We're going to have Samuel Dutton, who transferred from LSU, and then Cade Fisher, transferring from Florida. Really talented left-handed guy. Cade has there's been some mechanical things that they were trying to work through him. And so he was really going in that you thought he would be kind of the ace going in that Saturday guy. His best outing was last Saturday, where he went 5 innings. Because he's really just kind of been late developing. Sunday for us has just been TBA. And a lot of times right now it's been Andreas Alvarez, who's a freshman. He's just kind of been set in that role. It was Christian Chatterton, who was another true freshman, but he kind of struggled. So we're still probably going to be that Sunday TBA for a bit. It may change later. It definitely will probably change later as we get in that back half of the season that we're headed to, where you may have guys like Carson Myers or Parker Carlson kind of step up into that role. But Samuel Dutton being that anchor has really alleviated a lot of the pressure from other guys. And we're able to actually use guys in roles like a setup guy or a long relief. And it allows us to do more things in that Saturday and Sunday, where we really have just been, especially Saturday, just piecing things together and hoping the offense clicks. And if we're behind, we're not too far behind. And I really want to see how Fisher keeps developing. I know Everett Teepert, our pitching coach, and Butch have a really good plan for him, and they trust him, and they're relying on him. It may be frustrating a little bit as a fan, but we believe in him too. We had some folks at the deck that we have this big Diamond Club banquet, and he was the kind of the guy at the table, and so they got to know him, and so we really believe in him a little bit up at the deck, and it'll click a little bit. But for those in the pitching staff, we've got Dutton, and we're trying to have Hetzler be more of that closer, but we don't have any guy that's going to be set as like, this is the guy that we always want to get. It's going to be situational, and you'll see guys get extended saves and kind of play in the hot hand a little bit, because it's really our best strategy on the mound, is seeing how we can do matchups and do a little bit with whatever depth that we have on the mound.
The one guy that's kind of surprised me for Auburn is, maybe like I expected more, but Ike Irish obviously had the big reputation last year. hasn't had quite the power numbers this year that I think a lot of people expected him to have at this juncture. He only has 7, which is like what, second or third on the team. But
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the pitching, because last year is really what did Auburn's team in, was the pitching or the lack thereof. And then Butch was really like, hey, we got to change everything up. So, it's been fascinating to see the Dutton success, because he was kind of a bit part guy. I mean, he had his flashes at LSU, but he really didn't have a huge role. And the way he stepped up has been really impressive for y'all this year.
And it's been kind of a neat story with Dutton, because him and his brother both transferred here. His brother Andrew transferred from Birmingham Southern, and I think that was one of the reasons that they came, because Birmingham Southern shut down. And so Andrew's looking for a home, and that was a good place for Samuel to land as well. For Ike's have really been, I don't remember which game it was specifically, but he's coming back from injury still. He fractured his scapula in his back, and that's why he hasn't caught for an extended period of time, and he's just been primarily our right fielder. And plus with his swing too, if you watch his swing, sometimes if he overextends, he can hit that area of his back again. And that's just how because he can hit it really to all fields, and he's a really solid hitter. And I think for him, in the role that he has been put in, especially kind of in the 3-hole in the lineup, he's not being asked to hit a bunch of home runs. He's being asked to kind of set things up for McMurray behind him, and to, if Fabian's above him, to kind of bring him home. He's really that. We want him to start to churn things around, and so it's not being called anyway for him to be, we need you to hit it out each time. It's like, we just need you to make contact. We need you to keep the lineup churning, keep the lineup moving. And so that's really what he's been doing. He's got the capability, and we've seen it. McMurray has a lot of power. We've got Bub Terrell, who's a true freshman. He has tremendous power, but he is still a freshman, is still kind of developing into his own. But we don't have a ton of guys that you are going to be intimidated, I think, as a pitcher on the power side. But we've got a bunch of guys that it's going to be intimidating, because they're going to battle for each at bat. And it's going to be annoying to face them, because they're going to keep fouling off pitches, and they're not going to be scared of 2 strikes. They're really not going to be fooled a little bit. The guys do a really good job communicating with one another about what they're seeing. And Ike has kind of that catcher's eye, and so he's being able to relay a lot of stuff, what he's seeing. And with Chase Fralick, who's a true freshman, has become our everyday catcher, and he's been fantastic in that role. And one of the things that I think makes Auburn different from a lot of teams is Butch instills in the catchers and the pitchers to call their own pitches. Yeah, they do have the pitch com things, and they can listen into it, but when it comes to what they want to call, the catchers are being asked to do that, and to call it, and then have a relationship with the pitcher. It's something Butch has believed in for years, to develop these guys, as if they go on to the pros, to kind of develop that a little bit. And you'll kind of see, they'll get vetoed every now and then by Tiefert or by Butch, or they'll have a plan going in. But we put a lot of faith in our catchers, and with Lucas Steele as a backup, Chase Fralick, who's been our everyday, and Ike, hopefully we'll get back to catching. That kind of is what Auburn's going to be known for, having that relationship with the pitchers, and having knowing what each guy can bring when they're on the mound.
And is Cade Ballou still injured, or was he back this weekend?
He was not back this weekend, so he's had some back injury, and so he's been out for a bit. I don't know if he hasn't. People keep asking. Now people are paying attention to Texas around Auburn, because like, oh, we got to play Texas here. So they hear about Max Ballou, and they're like, "Are Cade and him related?" It's like,
they're not related.
I'm not sure. It's a very uncommon last name, but I think it's just maybe a distant cousin type deal. I don't know if we'll know more about him in the Jacksonville State game that we have on Tuesday. So if he pinch hits at all, then he's going to be 100% back, or he's going to be 90% back. So I'm not sure what his timetable is for coming back.
He was always one of those guys that when I saw him, he seemed like the glue guy. Like, he was the guy that kind of really made things happen, and just, if y'all needed a hit, he got that timely hit, or that big, double, whatever else. So he was the guy that I kind of kept watching for a while.
Yeah, he's been very clutch, and we've kind of needed some of those guys to kind of step up, especially just with, like I said, the amount of true freshmen we were having to put on the field. And so you've kind of got this gap in between. We've got a lot of guys that have been in the program for 3-4 years, and this is their last season. And then we've got basically the other half are brand new, either from a transfer or from as a true freshman. And so we don't have anything in the middle. Really, we just have a lot of guys that are old and a lot of guys that are young, and we're just kind of making it work.
Nice. So it sounds like from the discussion, if you guys do a 3 best after this one, it could be a very high likelihood that we're going to see Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray, and Samuel Dutton wind up on that list. Those seem to be the guys. I think, looking at it offensively, Irish and McMurray both hitting north of 3. I believe they're both hitting north of 360, both over 1,000 OPS. So those are y'all's guys. I mean, they combine for a lot of y'all slugging offensively. So Texas fans should certainly be watching for those 3 guys as they come to the dish this weekend. Let's talk predictions real quick. We like to put people on the spot and get series predictions. So we'll start with you, Kevin. First time, I believe it's the first time Auburn's ever. Hell, it may be the first time Auburn and Texas have ever played. Have we done that one yet?
I'd have to look back and see. If it was y'all would have kicked us out during one of our few College World Series appearances. I don't think it's outside of maybe like a tournament somewhere, because normally when we've made a regional, we get stuck we're stuck in the Southeast.
Right.
We're not going to travel to that much, and most of the tournaments in years past have not overlapped. Like, we're kind of staying where we're at, and we've only really recently started venturing out to play in the state of Texas with the stuff in Globe Life, and I think they're trying to get into the stuff in Minute Maid. So yeah, it'll probably be I think maybe the first time. I'll have to see when they put out the game notes and stuff.
They've met first time they met in 1912.
I was going to say it was probably like 1,000,000 years ago if they've played.
And then they've last met in 1995. And that looks like it was in the postseason. It was in the tournament, and Texas lost that game. So Auburn actually has a winning record. They're 0-2-1 against Texas. So they've got 2 wins and a tie. Texas has never beaten Auburn. So
wow,
there you go.
I will think, as confident as I want to be, I think that Auburn's goal going in is we just need 1. That's really, especially as how poorly we've kind of played on the road. Getting 1 is a huge win for us. And because there are so many unknowns kind of in that Saturday, and then we never know what's going to happen on Sunday sometimes with us, I really think that we would drop the series, but we're going to get at least 1 game. And I think that's going to be the focus, is really kind of pushing as much as we can in that Friday game and setting the tone. You've seen Auburn kind of go all in a little bit on that Friday and put as much emphasis as we can as kind of setting the tone and not falling behind, because Saturday has kind of been a bugaboo for us, or that second game of each series has kind of been a bugaboo for us.
Yeah, it should be a hell of a matchup with Dutton and Spencer. It'd be fun to watch those 2 guys go at it on the mound. Zach, who you got? What do you got in this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the series in 1912, it tells everything. It's a 1-run loss and then a tie. No, I think Texas wins. They play so well at home. They really feed off that energy. I think the pitching is probably just a notch better than what Auburn has in terms of, if you look at good on good, right? You're going to have Sam Dutton against Jared Spencer on Thursday night. This is a Thursday Saturday series for everyone that didn't remember that, including myself. But it's hard to bet against Spencer. He keeps you in that game so well, and then the ability to roll out a guy like Max Grubbs, I think that just favors Texas just a little bit. And then I think Saturday, favors Texas with Ruger Riojas going against a freshman, whether it's Alvarez or one of your other guys from Auburn. And so, if Texas is able to win if they're able to win Thursday, I feel really good about them being able to win the series. I do think that there's a very likelihood that, just law of averages, they're going to cough up a game somewhere. So, that Saturday game could make sense. I too have been a huge fan of Cade Fisher. When he committed to Auburn over the summer, during the transfer portal, I was like, man, that's going to set up Auburn really, really well for them trying to rebuild that pitching staff. It hasn't necessarily gone as well for him as I think most people thought it might, but he's got some electric stuff from the left side, and he really does have some really good pitchability. So yeah, I think 2-1 Texas takes the series and evens up this ridiculous 0-2-1 series history.
What do you got, Mark?
Love that. Yeah, I agree with Zach. I think, Texas has played really well at home this season against really high quality opponents. So I'm looking for a 2-1 series victory. for Texas. But I'm very excited to see Auburn in person. Obviously, they're on a really big hot streak right now. I believe it's 4 ranked opponents they've beat. No, it's 5 games in a row now, right? It was Georgia Tech midweek and then Bama game 3 last
Bama
weekend.
game 3, yeah.
Yeah, so they've won 5 in a row against ranked teams, which is pretty impressive. So again, man, just I'm really loving this SEC baseball. To say that we're mid-April and this is going to be our 3rd top 10 series at Dish Falk is pretty nuts. Something that we've never seen playing in the Big 12. So again, excited to get some new blood and a team that we haven't seen in Austin before. So really looking forward to that. Hoping that if any Auburn fans are in town and at the games, that they're coming through left field so we can show them some hospitality to any of the visiting fans. But I'm looking at Texas to win it 2-1.
Yeah, definitely Auburn fans. If you head out to the Dish Thursday through Saturday, and we'll get that right this time, Thursday through Saturday. I had to double take on that one myself. I forgot that I don't think any other conferences do that. So the SEC plays basically every single game on TV. And so they have to shift a few of the series over to Thursday through Saturday to get that done efficiently, I suppose.
Well, it's Easter weekend.
Well, it's Easter weekend too. That
could be it too. But dadgummit, we're going to Arkansas and we're playing Thursday through Sunday. What is that, Mother's Day weekend or something?
No, so SEC is the only one that really does that Thursday to Saturday. The Big 12 did Easter, and then they did the final series of the season just because you want to set yourself up for the tournament.
Right.
But due to TV schedule and everything, it gives that little prime time on Thursday night. But man, it makes it tough coming back from Kentucky, short week against an RGV team, and then have to turn around and have Hot Auburn there, which for those listening, there might be some schedule change, just FYI. So keep an eye out for a Wednesday announcement around times. So.
All right, we'll be watching for that. But Auburn fans, get out to left field. It's a hell of a good time. Y'all enjoy it. Mark and the guys will take care of y'all. To me, this is an interesting one because I don't think anybody – I mean, even Texas fans that had the highest hopes for Texas, I don't think we looked at the schedule and went, Auburn's going to be a top 10 team when they come to Dish Falk in April. So that's going to be really cool. And, you kind of talk about trap games in baseball. I do, trap series. This one could be one where you like you just had this really rough one against Kentucky. You got out of there with 2 wins. You got to be happy with that. But it was rough, man. And we're still dealing with some injuries. I'm going to take Texas to get it done 2-1, but I think it's going to be another one of them ugly. Like, I think it's going to be an ugly deal. I think Auburn's got some guys that are building confidence on that pitching staff. So I just kind of, I don't know. I get the feeling it's not going to be as, I don't know. It's not going to be as magical, I don't think, as that Georgia one. I think we're going to see like some ugly baseball, and whoever gets it done will get it done, just grinding. And I think we're halfway through the SEC schedule. I think that's what we're going to have to do a lot. Everybody's going to have to do that a lot in the SEC if they want to come out on top. So we got Kevin saying, just get one, baby, and we've said that a lot on this show. Just get one on the road. And I think, picking that Thursday night, you got a good guy on the bump to get that done. And then the rest of us here at the Bullpen are saying 2-1 Texas. So we're all on the same page with that one.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't have it at hand, but to me, I think it is almost a little bit harder for y'all because you just played Kentucky. And I've noticed, I need to go back and look at what happens to teams after they play Kentucky and the style that they play, because we played Georgia right after Kentucky and you could tell something was off. And I think a lot of it stemmed from that Kentucky series and from basically giving up a lot of hit by pitches, and you were kind of out of your rhythm, and it kind of bled over a little bit. And so you kind of have to kind of look at that a little bit. So it'll be interesting. And I don't know if they will still keep Dutton on Friday. If they'll move him up to Thursday, or if they may want to keep him set on that Friday, depending on the midweek that we have. So, and just kind of keep him on his schedule. And if he's been such a creature of having a routine, because we've got the flexibility to move that Sunday guy up to that TBA if we want. I'm sure Butch, they have a plan, and they'll have him on Thursday because they want to get the spotlight and the TV and everything. So we'll see. They'll probably do the announcement on Wednesday, and we'll see what they say.
Well, good stuff, Kevin. We sure appreciate you joining us. Kevin of Plainsman Parking Lot. If you ever go to Auburn, Go check him and his crew out. They hang out at the top of the parking lot on the left field line, so it's kind of their left field deal.
It is.
And a lot of left field stuff happening in SEC baseball, and I'm kind of here for it. That's
where the fun happens.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of that stuff was going on. Where people kind of get their little niche thing going on out there. That's cool stuff, man. That's the stuff that makes it unique and fun. To kind of dig into some of these games. Kevin, we appreciate you joining us. Follow Kevin at AUPPL on Twitter. I started following him, and we'll hope to see some good stuff out of Kevin and his guys. Kevin, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
No problem. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. One more thing to cover before we get at it. Well, let's answer a question. Our man Cody says, will A-Rod be back for us? I saw him being held out on Sunday. So we talked about this a little bit. His last at bat, I noticed he put his hand down, his left hand down to his side, and just kind of was holding it. Didn't look super comfortable. And they held him out. But I think, Zach, you mentioned he probably could have played on Sunday if they needed him to. So I think we'll probably see him. Maybe not to. Well, you think we'll see him tomorrow night just to give it a shot? No, we're going to hold him out and hold him for Auburn. That's fair.
Yep.
So there's your answer, Cody. I think everybody is good to go, except for Max, who's week to week, and we all know that anyway. So yeah, I think a little banged up. Mendoza, I don't know what ended up happening to Mendoza. I don't know if it was when he tried to get the ball out or when he braced himself when he went down to field the ball. When he
dove for the ball, he landed and just put all his weight on that shoulder. That's kind of just what he crumpled his shoulder up. And that's what he couldn't transfer the ball to his glove after that point, or to his throwing hand. Sorry. And so, yeah, he just he was definitely sore yesterday or today. And but yeah, I mean, sounds like he'll be good to go. So
good deal. I know
he's obviously, the table setter for us right now. So
exactly,
we absolutely have to have him in the lineup this weekend. So fingers crossed that he feels better by Thursday.
Yeah. I was when I saw him kind of doing this, I'm like, oh God, like this is baseball, not football. What the hell is happening? Like half our team can't be hurt. Like that's not supposed to happen in baseball. Real quick before we get out of here tonight, let's talk about that midweek tomorrow night against this UT Rio Grande Valley. 25-10, 16-5 in the Southland Conference. They beat a good DBU team in a midweek. I think looking at their schedule overall, their record is kind of a product of a weak schedule, but they're winning a lot of games. And I was looking at their hitters, man. They got some dudes, man. It'll just be interesting to see if it really is the teams they're playing or if those guys can just hit. I think the interesting storyline in this one, Rylan Galvan's twin brother, Rene Galvan, who's batting .313, by the way, for the Rio Grande Valley. What are they? The Vaqueros? Yeah. Excuse me. So I think he plays primarily left field. I saw Rylan kind of reposted a really nice highlight of him making a catch out in left field a couple weeks ago, I believe. So I had no idea that Rylan Galvan had a twin brother until I was sitting at a table on Saturday out at Starkville, Mississippi, and him and a couple of the other guys came out. He was talking to one of the moms and talking about his brothers. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting. I had no idea.
He's got a younger brother, Roland, as well, who's been hitting the ball well for Sinton. So, even though this is the Galvan Bowl, right? You got Galvan and Galvan. Adrian Alaniz, Longhorn great, is going to be very happy this weekend. He's got 4 players playing in this game on Tuesday night. So he's got Wyatt Rietrick, who's a junior. He's a pitcher. He's their Friday night guy. Then you got obviously Rene Galvan, and then on Texas you've got Rylan and you've got Jock. So all of those guys helped win a state title for Alaniz. So they've all played at Dishfalk before, and Rietrick, he's got some stuff on the mound. He's fun to watch, and I probably won't get to see him because like I said, he's their Friday night guy. But I'm calling this the Alaniz Bowl.
Yeah, no kidding.
Love that.
Good stuff. Yeah. So those hitters I was talking about, and Regoza, Sanchez, Lopez, Lancia, and Mumau, I believe that's how you pronounce that, all over 300. So they knock it around pretty good. Not a ton of power. They don't look like they're like a slugging type team. They're just a put it in play, get around the bases and score some runs type team. Their team ERA pretty good, 4.17. Not amazing, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So to me, it seems like this probably a pretty gritty little team, and they're coming in to play the number one team in the country. Texas is absolutely going to. Was UT Rio Grande Valley the one that beat us last year?
Jared Thomas is the only lone and only start on the mound for Texas.
Yes. Yeah, I was at our son's baseball game listening to that one on the radio, and it was bad too, right? I mean, they beat the crap out of us, right?
It was Texas made it interesting. They got 6 runs late, but yeah, I mean, Texas just couldn't. I mean, they scored Rio Grande Valley scored every single inning except for the 9th.
Yeah,
so that'll tell you. I mean, it was.
So they're kind of like maybe like another version of that Texas State team that they don't care. They're going to come in. They're going to play hard. We see Texas getting a win in this one.
Yes, I like Cade Bean. I mean, I think he's going to be really good again. I think you're going to see guys like Jason Flores and a couple others get another shot, and they're going to continue, trying to build that bullpen depth. But I think Texas, being back at home will have something to say. They're going to have some stuff they've been working on and thinking about since this weekend.
Yeah. I'm hoping they get the win, Sean and Zach. I think something to note is obviously the midweek before LSU and Georgia, we both, we dropped both of those games on a Tuesday and came out a little flat in both of those. So I'm hoping you'll see the bat show up tomorrow. And again, it'll be interesting to see what we do with pitching on a short week, having games starting on Thursday. You got to assume that's going to impact who we use and for how long on Tuesday. But again, hoping to see a good crowd out there with good weather and to get the week started off with a win.
Yeah, I look at this one and you're coming off a tough series. You're looking ahead to Auburn probably a little bit. And I know the coaches, you got to plan for that. Like you don't want to burn up everything on a Tuesday night type of deal. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to use all these pieces. They only have so many pieces. Now, granted, I feel like the pieces out of that bullpen for sure have definitely increased a lot the last few weeks as they begin to get some more guys in and out of the game. So I think that's a positive thing. It would not surprise me at all, though, if Rio Grande came in and figured out a way to get a win. I won't call it. I'm gonna pick Texas, but man, I would say I'm confidence not high, which probably means we'll score about 30 runs and be out of there by the 7th inning. That's usually how it goes when I try to be smart. It usually happens the opposite for me. So I'm not trying to jinx it either. I just feel like, man, it'll be interesting to see how the team can respond on a short turnaround against a team that looks pretty dangerous to me. Any last thoughts before we get out of here, guys?
No, I mean, UTRGVs, they're a solid team. Matt Locke, their head coach, he's a Schloss Engel protege. He played for him up at TCU. They're solid. They play solid brand of defense, right? So you're not going to see him boot the ball around. Some of the other midweek games you might see, but yeah, it'll be a nice little midweek test for sure for Texas.
Yeah. For my side, Sean, just want to plug the weekend, man. Another top 10 matchup. It's going to be beautiful weather, like 90 degrees all weekend. So there's no excuses. I expect some packed houses out there at Dish Falk. Let's get everybody out there and have a good time and hopefully get another huge series win against a ranked team. So looking forward to that and ready to see the boys play again this weekend.
Yeah, clearly this Texas team, when the home crowd at the Dish is into it, they tend to like take it up to the next level. So show up Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon. Great weather for some baseball. No excuse not. And this isn't a gimme type series either. This is a really good Auburn team. So I think that's probably the coolest thing about joining the SEC, more so than even the football, is just how good the baseball has been and will continue to be. You don't just get to go and play a lot of teams in the SEC where you just feel great that you're even going to get to, much less get a sweep type of deal. So these are all big series. They're sitting at 13. We've talked about getting to 16, 17. get 2 this weekend, man, and you are in really good shape with 4 series to go to knock out a few more and get yourself into that top 8, which is where you really want to be. Top 8. So you're hosting a super regional if you advance. Certainly hosting a regional. So yeah, get out to the dish. Go see the guys out in left field. They will have tons of beer. Somebody will be cooking something. Good times. Fireball shots, guys. Take your fireball shots. They're important. Don't forget to take a fireball shot during game day keeps the doctor away. I just made that up, but it's true. It does keep the doctor away. All right, folks, that's it for this edition of the Bullpen. We will be back next Monday night to talk about that series with Auburn at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Follow us on X for all the latest on Texas baseball. Subscribe, get notified to the YouTube channel, Horn Takes, at Horn Takes. Again, special thanks to Kevin from Plainsman Parking Lot. Check him out on Twitter. Gracious enough to join us and gave us some really good insight into that Auburn baseball team. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You guys have a good night. You guys get hooked.
Welcome.